You are making great progress in your Turkish learning journey. And then this gentleman shows up.
Genelde işte din din dimedim din, yin yin yemedim din.
Was that Mandarin? What's that got to do with Turkish? Well, if you thought the person was speaking anything but Turkish, I have good news for you. In today's video, we're going to talk about 7 different Turkish dialects. By the way, do you know we are referring to a specific dialect when we say Turkish? Stick around till the end to find out which one that would be. Without further ado, let's start.
Merhaba arkadaş. Kapı geçi kadar gidiyorsun. Götüreceğimin alıvereceğin bana.
Ne?
Burada ileride bir köy var. Kapı geç. Oraya kadar gidiyorsun. Götür ve alıver ben oraya kadar.
Hangi dili konuşuyorsun amcacığım sen ya?
Way to go, uncle. That was easy. I mean, not easy to understand, but easy to identify. At least for those of you who love some Turkish TV. Since the last decade or so, Turkish series and movies have featured this dialect a lot.
Bu kız bu aklını benden almıştır.
Bak şimdi ya, gene kendine pay çıkartıyorsun. Aklını aynı babasından almıştı.
Halasından almıştır.
Yok ablacığım, babasından almıştır.
What you heard was Ege ağzı, a dialect spoken not only in the coastal areas of Aegean region, like Muğla and Aydın, but also further north around Çanakkale. It's well known for its fast pace, elisions in the middle, and especially at the ends of the words. Ege ağzı is one of the most easily recognized dialects in Turkish. An easy way to identify Ege ağzı, apart from its melodic sound, is the tendency to change kız into güz. So yes, our hitchhiking uncle was looking for a ride to go to Kapıgeç, which of course he calls Kapıgeç. Also, you probably noticed how he never pronounced the R sounds at the end of the words, like va instead of var. By the way, the Turkish dialects which you will hear in this video are mostly used by the elderly nowadays. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can be young, love your dialect and wear it with pride just like this kid who is a master of both worlds.
Biz de gayet güzel konuşabiliriz. Ama ben böyle konuşacağım. Canım böyle istiyor. Var mı diyecek bir şey?
Gidersin fındıkla sabah 6:30 göz hala kapalı böyle sallanıyorsun. Tutamıyorsun da ayılamadın hala. O zıplarsın tutarsın temliği çekersin aşağı. Oradan mutlaka bir parça gelir böyle gözün içine gider. Gelir hemen emizin dışarı çıktı mı yok.
From one end of the country to the other, this gentleman demonstrates Karadeniz ağzı perfectly. You can hear this dialect a lot in the northern eastern part of Turkey, near the Black Sea. Trabzon and Rize are the most commonly associated cities where you can hear this dialect. You have probably noticed how similar Karadeniz ağzı is in its velocity to Ege ağzı. But there is less lilting and a much more constant up-tempo. One of the most prominent features of Karadeniz ağzı is the interchange between consonants. Kız turn into ç sound and güz turn into c regularly. Semih Saygıner, who is a Turkish billiards legend, gets the gist of it perfectly. And as he says, there's an unlimited amount of c's in the Blacksea Dialect.
Bizde A, B, C diye gidiyor. Orada mesela Karadeniz'e gidiyorsun A, B, C. Sonra da Ç geliyor ama 18 tane Ç var.
Pay attention to this young lady talking over the phone and try to notice the difference between kız and cız and güz and their Black Seed versions.
Anam dedi bize ki gidiyorum çay bakma tamam mı? Ciddi de olmadı. Şimdi bardıman dedi ben geliyorum. Gidiyorum çıltırayla oraya çay gözcük.
Haberimiz yok daha bakayım.
One of the distinctive features of Karadeniz ağzı is the tendency to reverse the positions of subjects and verbs in the sentences. So, if you were to say, I went back home, you would say, eve geri gittim. But in Karadeniz ağzı, it would be, gittim geri eve. Kinda like Master Yoda, but a bit funnier if you ask me. Ladies and gentlemen, he is back.
Genelde işte din din dimedim din, yin yin yemedim din.
You're probably wondering if this is really Turkish. I guarantee you that it is. This dialect is spoken in a much wider area than the previous one. It is commonly found in the central Anatolian region and has various versions. The gentleman you just heard is from Konya, or as he would pronounce it, Gonya. Although the kız turning into güz are pretty common, the letter you are most likely to hear is ö in İç Anadolu ağzı. And the sentence you are most likely to hear is ne örüyorsun, which is the central Anatolian version of ne yapıyorsun. You can think of it as what's up or how are things.
Ne yapıyorsun? Ne örüyorsun? Kı. Başka ne diyeyim?
As you can hear in him pronouncing the word başka, the kız can also turn into sound, which is not specific to Central Anatolia. You can definitely hear it more and more as you go towards the east. Focus on this next gentleman for another feature of the dialect.
Büyüdün mü dedim yani sırtına bir paltosu giymeyen bir tane boncuklu çarıtmayan kafana dedim. Hanım mı oldu? İçmezsen içme dedim. Burada doğdum, burada büyüdüm.
Did you get it? It was on full display when he said Ankara. In İç Anadolu ağzı, the N sound is most likely always pronounced with a G alongside it. Okay, now we go from Central Anatolia to Eastern Anatolia and specifically to Diyarbakır for our first example.
Bir gün bir tane İngiliz, bir tane de Alman, bir tane de Fransız, bir tane de Diyarbakırlı gidiler uluslararası bir yarışmaya. Yarışmanın kuralları nedir baba? Dik sizi bir eve kapatacağız. Bir ay boyunca yemenizi içmenizi verip yanınıza da bir tane köpek vereceğiz. Siz bu köpeği konuşturacaksınız.
The most recognizable feature of the Eastern and Southeastern Turkish dialect is the influence of Arabic and Kurdish in it. You probably noticed that the throaty sounds are way stronger compared to the other dialects. You can hear this Turkish dialect in cities like Mardin, Şanlıurfa, Hakkari, Muş, Bitlis, Van and Erzurum. It is spoken in a huge part of Turkey. Speaking of Erzurum, let's hear someone actually from that city. Shall we?
Baban neydir? Nenen neydir? Gollik. Kalk gidelim. Çok var. Kırtlağıma getirdin daha seni bezdirəsən, seni kamyon altında qalasan.
As you can hear, words almost never end in k's in this version of Turkish, and they are replaced by the h sound. The a's also tend to turn to is, especially in the middle of words. So you might hear the Turkish word hamam, which means Turkish bath, pronounced as hemam. Before we move on to another dialect, let's go south and say hi to a friend from Şanlıurfa. Try to notice all the changes we talked about in this section.
Rüyamda gördüm bir tane adam, rüyamın devamı var, ona çok eminim. Bir tane adam böyle sadece arkası dönük, onu gördüm. Aradan ya yarım saat ya da bir saat, onu Allah bilir. Abi deprem oldu.
Let's go further down the south and say hi to our friends in Adana.
Keçiden duman olmaz, ırcıvadan adam olmaz. Olursa keyifçi olsun, hayatta yanlış yapmaz. Kapıcı diller, kurnazı millerdir. Bizim gibileri hep mücadele eder.
Although linguists don't classify how Turkish is spoken in Adana as a dialect, this Turkish version is so distinct that we had to talk about it. Not just the way the language is spoken, but the mannerisms of people from this southern eastern city are also unique. This dialect has become pretty popular thanks to some successful TV shows, so it has been reaching more people lately, and it's also spoken in the nearby city of Mersin. It has tough to master interchangeable k's and g's. For instance, gölge becomes kölge, but kardeş becomes gardaş in this version. The way the present tense is conjugated is also very unique, where the suffix yor is always changed with yur, making geliyor to geliyor. This one is a truly one-city dialect, and it's coming from Kastamonu. Although there are countless cues for native Turkish speakers to identify the Kastamonu dialects, if you are a foreigner trying to learn Turkish, your best bet would be to keep an eye out for the ü sound. That's the reason why küçük becomes güççük.
Sevgili yolcularımız, kaptanınız konuşuyor. Koyunlarım benim. Dünyanın merkezine Kastamonu'ya gidiyoruz. Uçuş süresi 55 dakika falan sürüyor. Hem bebek azları, koklerin. Kısa yoldan sizi götürürüm memlekete.
As this gentleman proves it, people from the city love to use the ü for whatever reason, in places where you least expect to hear them. Notice how the n is oftentimes followed with a slightly hidden g adjacent to it.
Bir Kastamonlu olsaydı, ilkin eğcük özüskiriz ya, ağaçlarda yapraklı sallanıyor. Te uzaklarda zurnacı şeyinin zurne sesi. Kastamonu'yu dinleyen gözlerim kapalı.
As this adorable little poet shows, the Kastamonu dialect makes everything sound more pastoral and cute. Which is why some native Turkish speakers believe that even swear words don't sound aggressive when they are said in the particular dialect. Obviously, we are not going to give you examples of that. Before we move on to our last dialect, let's reveal which specific dialect we are referring to when we say Turkish. If you are a subscriber and you are on your journey to learn Turkish, chances are you already know that the answer is not among the dialects we have been talking about in this video. Cue the drum roll, please. When we say Turkish, the dialect we are implicitly talking about is the Turkish spoken in Istanbul. You can think of this as received pronunciation for English. Alright, on to our last dialect. Wrapping up our list is Kıbrıs ağzı, or should I say Kıbrıs. This dialect is easily recognizable by b's that turn into p's and ç's that turn into ş, just like the difference between Kıbrıs and Kıbrıs, and hiç and hiş.
Tombula var dedi komşular, sen de gel, çıktım gittim. Ne bilirdim anam bana çıkacağını.
Ya bir tombala çıktı bize. Öyle bir hal oldu, evlatlarını da küsedik bize.
As you have probably picked up by now, the vowels in this version of Turkish are almost never elongated too. Another thing that sets Kıbrıs ağzı from any other dialect we talked about in this video is the way questions are formed. As it is the case in Spanish, to pose a question, Cypriots use intonation and don't use the interrogative particle mı, mi at all. It is easier to demonstrate this with an example. Let's take the question, is your father at home, for instance. Baban evde mi? But in Kıbrıs ağzı, we simply say, baban evdedir. I hope that made sense. Before this video gets scarier for all you courageous Turkish learners, let's wrap up here. Thank you very much for joining me in today's episode. I hope to see you in the next videos. Don't forget to subscribe. Görüşürüz, hoşça kalın.